there's character, which is foundation and trust. But funny enough, like as you said, most people are not trusting consciously. So they're doing it badly. And when they trust someone, they'll do it based off of like not the what's under the surface and the foundation, but they'll trust them based off of what they see as the fruits, what they see
Mm-hmm.
on the branches. And they're like, oh, this person has a Lamborghini. This person has like got really nice pictures. This person looks good. This person is attractive. Like this person. So now what they're doing is they're looking at the fruits of the person, thinking they must have good soil. They must have good roots based off of what we can see in the fruits, and that is quite logical. But sometimes it's not necessarily the truth because you can pick up another fruit from somebody else's tree. So you could have a lot of fruits, but doesn't necessarily mean that you got that character. So we're talking a little bit about um, the the limits that have in your life been difficult to overcome when it comes to your memory and just being able to show up as the better version of
Did
yourself.
did you say limits?
Yeah,
I think, to be fair, the call that we had earlier was, funny enough, for me, it made me realize that I don't have any limits. I thought, I was always limiting myself, but the sky's the limit. Like you've mentioned, all these great names, Nelson Mandela, all these people, they never had any limits. They've done stuff. Why can't we do the same? We're all human.
exactly.
So, yeah, it was very motivational, the conversation that we had earlier. Um, but yeah, I think it's just it's one of those things that the littlest things people forget on day-to-day basis, and these are the littlest things, is to remind yourself what are, you know lit that things are living. Sorry if I'm muddling my words, but like, yeah, there's a lot of things that we forget about basically day to day.
Yeah,
that
tell me
separ-
more, man.
that separates us from normal people. And I do say that normal people, because every single person that I've met um, on here, they have that special thing about them that you don't really find anywhere else. It's a mix of love, of power, of everything really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah, so basically, for me, it's more of back to the basics and to stay humble.
absolutely, man. Um, Humility is the ultimate protection.
Hmm.
So um, it's easy to be humble when the world humbles you, but when the world starts to give you
Hmm.
um, more and more, that's when it can become tempting to let go of the humility and feed the ego.
Absolutely, it's on God's time, not my time. And whatever comes in my way, I will make sure to get over it.
Yeah, that's the That's the best type of attitude that you can have, is to see every obstacle as an opportunity.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think it just reminded me of something as well. Is every obstacle is more of a level. It's more of a test for the day. You accomplish it. You can accomplish the entire day. Do you know what I mean?
Elaborate. What do you mean?
Like like I said, even the littlest things, everything starts within the mind. You have tasks where maybe things might stress you out, whether it's work, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's the simplest of things like going for shopping. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have these tasks, and knowing that you can overcome anything, you will basically you live in the moment and you live in the day. You've got things to do in the day. You set up your day, and you definitely feel like a winner. For example, I do this all the time. It helps with your mind as well, but when you wake up, the first thing you should do is make your bed, and that prepares you to accomplish what you're doing that day.
I get you. Small wins stack up, and it's the little habits that are humble habits of which can then compound and attract other habits that
Hmm.
are as positive. Um, there's a good book on that, where The Power of Habit. He talks about having what's called a keystone habit, and it's
I think
basically
I've got that book. To be fair,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, Atomic of Habits.
Well, there's Atomic Habits, and then there's another one
Mm.
called Habit, but they teach this similar principle, which is the power of habit. So um, yeah, the idea with it is when you have like something that is just one small habit that you can focus on, that you know is just positive, um, and you delight in doing that daily discipline of that one small habit, that can actually attract and open up more habits that are also, habits that can help you. So a good keystone
Hmm.
habit, as you're describing, could be like making your bed every single day as best as you possibly can.
Hmm. This is also having, like, do you know where the mentality and that euphoric feeling that you have when you first do your bed and you feel proud of yourself? And what you mentioned about them little steps, what I was talking about before was more of the smallest things. Do it the best, not the best you can, but do it with happiness. And take this, take today as, you're only going to live this day once.
Yeah, yeah. So you want to do it with presence. You want to do it with joy. You want to do it with love,
You absolutely hit the spot. Yeah, yeah.
because how you do anything is how you do everything.
Repeat that.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
Which is why, like, if there's one area where you're not really putting your all into it, you're just giving the bare minimum to it, um, then the cost of that is that, let's say, for example, the easiest one is a person who, they are trying to get some good results when it comes to their career and business.
Mm-hmm.
They've got two things going on. They've got like one job where they're literally putting in the absolute bare minimum. They're not giving any energy, attention to it whatsoever, and they're kind of like neglecting the role, just there for the money. And then in
Mm-hmm.
their career and their business, which is more like their passion, what they want to do full time, they're trying to bring a different energy to this, whilst what you're giving to this other thing is at the minimum. So
Mm-hmm.
you're never going to be able to operate from that place of like true um, giving to it until even when you're in your job, like you try to give the maximum to that as well. And I've spoken to certain entrepreneurs, like one of my early mentors as well. He talked about how whenever he'd have a job, like he would literally look at it like it was a sport, and he would get so good at it when he was doing it. Even though like he knew he wasn't going to do it forever, like it wasn't his main thing, he would always still look at the job like, how can I absolutely maximize this in terms of what I squeeze with value and juice out of this thing. Like I'm gonna get everything that I
Now
can,
that's it.
give everything I can to it.
It's incredible, that to be fair, because I do a similar thing, and it's the opposite, but it works amazingly. Instead of thinking it's a sport, think that you're an athlete and competitive. So just think like you're like Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, like how he's so driven and wanting to score loads of goals. So treat yourself like an athlete. What can you get better at? What can you do differently today than you did yesterday? Yeah, I think, yeah, having the biggest competitor is yourself.
Mm.
It's as simple as that. Like it's crazy. Like us humans, we're so capable of a lot of things, but it's the doing, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, how could people put effort into their work, but slack when they go to the gym, or not fixing the diets properly? Like, why don't they living it as a whole lifestyle is so much easier? And it goes back to what I was saying. You might not. It's not like living like a robot. You're human at the end of the day, living like an athlete, but at the same time, like I mentioned before, where you're in the present moment and you're still enjoying your life. Because you realize the small things where you go for shopping and you can interact with people. People become so closed off after COVID. Like, you can speak to people, have a laugh with them, enjoy the little things rather than laying back. If you're the type of people to lay back and play games, and fair enough, but there's so many different ways to enjoy your life as well.
Like what?
Everyone has different ways, to be fair, but if you ask anyone what's the most important thing, people will most likely say it's family.
Mm.
So if you can all agree, or most of us can agree, it's family, then why don't we invest in our families as well?
How could that, what would that look like if you was to invest more in your family?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was asking because you said we should invest more in our family.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was, what would that look like to invest more in your family?
Spend quality time. It's the bare minimum, really. And to be fair, there'll be people in your family as well that you'll never know that you'll have that bond, because at the end of the day, as much as there's a community, as much as there's friends, but there's always going to be family.
Mm,
Yeah, it's to be fair, I feel like this call is more on my self discovery because I do talk like I'm talking for everyone else, but it is something that's very personal to myself as well.
exactly. Because a lot of the things that you're saying, you could just replace we with I, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and you can then start speaking your own truth as to what it is that you personally believe right now. So yeah, it's your own opportunity um, to be a little bit more selfish and take value for yourself, you know, um,
Hmm.
and go through that process for you. Um, and you're talking about, for example, spending more quality time with your family. Do you feel like right now you spend quite a lot of quality time with your family?
Right now, yeah, I do, but to be fair, it's one of those things where, like, you've, because obviously the conversation came from, okay, what really matters? Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what made me wonder when we had this conversation. Yeah, we're talking about work, we're talking about business, we're talking about bettering ourselves. If you're gonna better yourself, then you'd want to not only put yourself around things that will better yourself and have that mindset, but what is another thing that's gonna better yourself? And it's the family. And not everyone is gonna have, you know, the best of family members. You know, everyone has a different family at the end of the day. Um, but it's it's one of those things where I guess there's things that you can't get from anyone else that you get from family. To be fair, and
Like,
you know what? Honestly, family could mean anything. Family
mm,
doesn't actually need to mean blood.
mm.
So
so so that's a good question. Then, like, what do you define as being family?
family is someone you can trust blindly. You family is someone that you can close your eyes and know that you're good. Even if you opened your eyes and there's a train coming right ahead,
Yeah.
you know that if you're with that person, you are good.
Mm. Family is being able to trust.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Trust without questioning.
Yeah.
My
Trust without questioning.
mom just entered the room. Yeah,
What's
you can
that?
carry on, bro. My mom just entered the room. She just wanted to speak to me. You can carry on.
No problem. But you were just talking about how family is being able to trust without question.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
interesting because there's sometimes blood family who you don't trust without question,
Hmm.
or they don't trust you without question. And it kind of exposes how, like, I'm going to say, we say that we're family. We're not really family.
Hmm. No, that's absolutely true. Doesn't mean that you're with these people 24/7. That your family. To be fair, it's, it's very. I mean, you can love a person and you can forgive a person. You know, if things happen between, family, forgiving is always. the best way. You never want to hold a grudge, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should always be with them or trust them. It is a deep topic, to be fair. You know what? I do miss these conversations, like how it just completely changed from what we were talking about. One thing led to another thing. It does keep you thinking, to be fair. Um, but to be fair, I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to, I want to know what's important to you. You understand that self development and all these little things mean to me, but what's important to you?
Thank you for asking. That's a great question, and um, I'd say that for me, my main three values. Um, this is something that I've become quite clear on as of recent. Is the main three for me is legacy, number one. Um, and how do I define legacy? Legacy is about what is the result of the impact that you've had on others, and not just in this one lifetime, but it's actually in the lifetimes beyond your own. So for me, like that's the number one most important thing, and it's not because of my reputation and status that I get from that in the world, but it's actually because for me, what's most important is how I'm seen by God. And at the end of the day, if I'm serving His people for this life and in future lives as well, then the likelihood that I'll have closeness and connection to Him, to His throne, is going to be much higher. So that's the number one thing. Um, the second thing is power, and I'm not talking about the type of power which is like becoming strong in the gym or having external power over others. Because although like some of those things may just end up becoming my reality, it's like that's not what I'm most concerned about. It's like actually being able to have that inner power and be able to operate from a truly powerful space, from an empowered state. And if I can impact people in a way which they can become super powerful, then that's also one thing that would bring me a lot of joy, fulfillment, and it does. And one of my missions is to just help people to discover the superpowers that exist within them, because I believe that every single person has a hidden gift that if there was to one become aware of what that gift was and then start sharing it with the world, like we'd literally have a world full of people who are like modern day superheroes and all acting from this super powerful space and helping each other. It'd be great. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is love. I feel like all of these three things, they tie to each other. But yeah, love is not just about like the type of love that you experience between you and romantic partner, but there's 8 types of love. And the Bible talks about this. There's the eros, the philia, there's the agape. So each one of these represents a different form of love, and the highest form of love that a person can experience is God's love. So if we're looking at love, it's like most people simply experience love which is very conditional, It's like either baby love, which is demanding type of love, and it says love me or else. Um,
Mm.
it's quite threatening. It's very selfish. There's also another type of love which is um, reciprocal. It's very logical, but it's not necessarily coming from a space of it just being unconditional love. And this is something that I'm learning a lot more and more of myself now, is like how much I have been experiencing conditional love. And if you are limited by that, then the relationship that you have with God can never truly be as great as He wants it to be. So when you move into unconditional love, this is when you start loving not because you get something, but loving for the joy of loving, loving because it's who you are. Um, and then the highest form of love is where it is that agape, the God's love, and loving even when it hurts. That's hard. Like loving even when people may not necessarily have shown it to you, that they may not necessarily deserve it, but it's not to love and sacrifice, but it's to love with boundaries and doing that for yourself just so that you don't descend. But that's something that I'm grateful to be leveling up within, is getting to that space where I can love even when it hurts. So those are the three most important things for me. And yeah, family comes within that, of course, because at the end of the day, when you start having love that comes into the environment, whatever community, circle, space that you're in, the more love that exists, then from
Mm.
that energy, you'll notice that the amount that people are trusting each other as well starts to rise. And the opposite of that is when the atmosphere, the environment, it comes into a place of fear, that fear consciousness, ego driven. And in that space, nobody trusts each other. Everything feels like
Mm.
it's me against you, fight or flight, dog eat dog world, no collaboration, only competition. If I win, you lose. If you win, I lose. So nobody trusts each other in that space.
May I ask you something?
Yeah.
Got a question for you, yeah? How do you see trust? For example, how do you view it? Do you view it as an exchange between two people, as okay, I trust you, this is basically, my trust to you. If you break it, the trust
Mm.
is broken. Or do you see trust as in, okay, this is it. I'm trusting you, you trust in a person, and whether they break it or whether they don't, that's on you because you gave them that trust. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, clarify for me. So are you talking about like ownership and responsibility as to who's responsible for the trust that's
Yeah,
been lost,
it's
or are you talking about like what trust is?
bit of both. So more on the responsibility side, because it's something that obviously I've been working on myself as well, the per- rather than seeing trust as in you've given it to a person and they've broken it and you're getting upset about it. See it as okay, I've trusted you, you've broken it. Now I understand, and I give you that trust. So it's issue with me. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of that, and I want to see what you think of. I've just basically told you how I see trust and how I think trust is, but what would you think?
Yeah. So look at trust as like it's a currency. And
Right.
if you saw your trust as like a bank of money, then that would make things really easy to understand here. And we live in a world right now where like trust is so scarce. It's crazy.
Mhm.
And a big reason why is because people have been screwed over so many times. People have been walked all over. They've experienced hardship. They've heard stories, and maybe been overfed with negativity in the world. And if you think about like what most people tune into and have been tuning into for the last however long, it's mainstream media, which is all fear based. So what's happened is
Mhm.
like we've got this epidemic where there's just such a low level of trust in wider society right now. And it's not as if like people can't gain trust, but people don't know how or they're not willing to. So when it comes to trust, what I would say to begin with is that a wise person will recognize that even before you go into a relationship with another person where trust can be exchanged, you want to build up self trust. So, how can you build up self trust? Well, you got to be able to determine what is it that will actually, like, what is trust? What does it consist of? And there's an equation for trust, which is really simple. It's number one, it's about the reliability that you have. So, for example, today you said that, oh, I'm going to show up on the call at 8 p.m. and you showed up at 8 p.m. punctual on time and you're on the call. Each time you keep your own promise, you build up self trust, and each time you break your own promises, you lose your own sense of self trust. Because at the end of the day, like you're also not just in relationship with others, you're in a relationship with yourself. So
Mhm.
this is the foundation is what we're looking at, is how much of your own promises are you keeping. And then after the reliability, it's looking at the credibility, and the credibility is
Mhm.
based off of um, the the sort of expertise, the experience that you have that makes you seen as someone who is worthy of trust. So the more that you actually get results, the most credibility that you can start to have. So let's say that you're trying to build up some self trust, then you've just been able to win a challenge or you've hit a certain milestone. Your credibility is going to rise for yourself, and you'll feel like you're more of a credible person. You have more authority. And then the third thing is with your intimacy. So intimacy is about the emotional side now. And a person can be someone that you trust more just simply based off of how they make you feel, right? And how do you make yourself feel? That's another thing. Because if you just beat yourself up all the time, you're probably going to lose self trust. But if you make yourself feel good, then you'll gain some. And
Mhm.
then the final component is the intention. Like, are you doing this for to get something, or are you doing it to give? And it's the same thing for yourself. Like if you've done a lot for yourself, then that self trust is going to build. And if it's more so that you've just been doing everything for other people like all the time, like you're going to lose self trust. So once you've been able to like build up a lot more of this currency, you've got a lot of self trust. That's going to develop confidence for you, because the root word of confidence, the Latin, means to trust, with trust.
Mhm.
So you'll build up confidence. And then now, like once you got that confidence, you can start actually entering into relationships with people, whether it's friendships, whether it's extended family, whether it's like, business partnerships. So once you've developed that self trust, you can start extending it to others in exchange. And the more self-trust that you have, like the more trust that you can give to another, because it's not coming from lack and scarcity. It's not like there's a tiny little bit of self-trust that you have to give, but it's actually coming from abundance and overflow. So you gained a lot of confidence in yourself, a lot of self-trust. And then from that space, whenever you do give some, it's like, I had loads to give anyway. I'm not lacking. And you also have a recognition that, like, even if somebody does break your trust in the relationship, they've not broken your self trust. So the relationship, in terms of where it is from the very beginning, like, even though you may have a 10 out of 10 in terms of your self trust, you enter into a relationship with another person from the very beginning. That new relationship can potentially start out at a 0, but the game is about how can you create relationships with other people where the trust doesn't start at a 0, but it starts out at like a 7 or an 8, and you can get it to that point within 30 minutes or 10 minutes. How can you take somebody from being a stranger, who is someone that you don't trust whatsoever because you don't know who they are, you don't like them, you don't trust them, to then becoming somebody who's a friend? Maybe you like them now, you know who they are, to then finally becoming a family member. You like them and you trust them. How can you take them from there to there in the shortest space of time? It can be done within 5 to 10 minutes. And then the question is, okay, well, how trusting should one person be? Is it good to be trusting of other people, like instantly, like that? And I'd say that the skill is not necessarily all about how quick, but it's also the quality. Do you have true discernment? And that's the thing that people are lacking in this day and age, is discernment. So
You sort of
when,
put something in my head. Sorry,
yeah,
carry on.
well, I was just saying that when you have discernment, your heart has discernment, then it could literally be instantly that you can tell whether or not you should give trust to a person, or whether or not you should withhold trust. Because there are some people who you shouldn't give trust to, but there are others it will benefit you or benefit them to give your trust to that person. So if you can, through literally like a minute conversation, like, know whether to give that person your trust, that's a true skill that you've gained there. Welcome, Yasmin, to the conversation. We're having a good conversation here, me and Tom.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alaykum assalam.
This is Taha. Taha and I met a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that. And he's got an amazing story that I know he would love to share with the world. Very inspiring human being. And I didn't even say this to you, Taha, but like, it's a night and day difference between who he used to be versus who he is now. It's crazy. Like one of the maddest transformations I've seen.
It's only gonna get better, brother.
Yes, that's the mindset. So we were just talking a little bit about trust, and how it's not just important to, be someone who is good at developing self trust, and it's not just important to be someone who is good at being able to have others trust you quickly, but also it's important to develop what's called discernment. And that's where you can tell whether or not you should trust another person, and give away some trust to them. So yeah,
To
that's
be
where
fair,
we got to right there.
you did get me thinking, and when we go back to talking about what who you trust the most, whether it's family, and you have that type of trust where it's blindless, you don't need to look, you can have your eyes closed, and it just got me thinking. Okay, what does it mean to trust that person? Why do you have? What does trust truly mean? And it pretty much means that whether 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 or not it's gonna get done. So if you're looking for protection, you know you'll get protected. If you're looking for wisdom and knowledge, you know you'll get educated. There's um there's so many different ways to say it, but it's more of like what you mentioned about relationships, whether it's with a person, a love relationship, whether it's with friendships. You can almost see like I feel like knowledge and trust should go hand in hand because, like I said, when you trust someone blindly, it's that knowledge that you know that person is willing to push mountains for you. Like so, when let's say for example, you have your loved one. Let's say for example your mom. Okay, you're willing to do anything for your parent, right? Which is anything at all. So if you have that knowledge that you know that that person is willing to do anything for you, then that kind of gives you that trust, that protection. For example, let's say, for example, okay, you're very educated in business and you have an agreement with someone with a business, and depending on that business, that business transaction, let's say, for example, you know for a fact, you know the ins and outs of this business, you know exactly how it's going to go, you're most likely going to go ahead and trust that person and go ahead with it. But if it's something where it's like, I'm not too sure and it sounds a bit more of a gamble, I'll give you another example. You get in a relationship with a woman or a man, and one way to find out, to be fair, some cheating can happen unexpected, but first and foremost, you look at the character, and then you can kind of you can kind of see the way they act. If they're distant, then you know that it's most likely that the trust has been broken. Do you know what I mean? Do you
Absolutely.
get what I mean?
Um, what you said there about character is foundational. So there's um, there's a really good diagram that kind of shows the tree of trust, and I learned this from a book called The Speed of Trust. But in the tree of trust, there is your foundation, which is beneath the surface, and that shows a person's character. Looking at, does this person have integrity? Do they have humility? Do they have real honesty? And do they actually have good morals and intentions? So that's the foundation when it comes to anything, which is why, like, if you genuinely have really good character, and maybe you've not always had good character, but now for whatever reason, like God has performed a miracle, which is to change your character, and now you have like great
Mm-hmm.
character. You've become a truly trustworthy person in comparison to the majority of the population, because the majority of people don't have that. They don't have pure intentions. They don't have integrity. They don't have honesty and humility right now, because it's just not something of which the world truly rewards. So because the world doesn't reward it, then why would you need that? You know? So there's character, which is foundation and trust. But funny enough, like as you said, most people are not trusting consciously. So they're doing it badly. And when they trust someone, they'll do it based off of like not the what's under the surface and the foundation, but they'll trust them based off of what they see as the fruits, what they see
Mm-hmm.
on the branches. And they're like, oh, this person has a Lamborghini. This person has like got really nice pictures. This person looks good. This person is attractive. Like this person. So now what they're doing is they're looking at the fruits of the person, thinking they must have good soil. They must have good roots, based off of what we can see in the fruits, and that is quite logical. But sometimes it's not necessarily the truth, because you can pick up another fruit from somebody else's tree. So you could have a lot of fruits, but doesn't necessarily mean that you got that character. So I think that, yeah, a big part of discernment is being able to really see like what a person's character is to begin with. Now, character alone can only get you so far. Like you could have the best surgeon in the world who has the worst character, but you still would prefer to go to him for surgery than someone who has the best character and it's their first day on the job. Like they have no idea what they're doing, you know? So relating back to what we were talking about in terms of the new world that we're moving into, this new earth where AI and intelligence is going to be completely available, abundant, as well as robotics, like everything like this. If we're preparing for that type of future, then does it make most sense to work on your character or to work on your intelligence, to work on the proficiency? And and from an economic standpoint, it's like, well, if there's going to be such a high supply of intelligence and proficiency and performance, then why would you obsess and stress about those things? The actual thing that is going to be most scarce is going to be wisdom, empathy. It's going to be high consciousness, energy, vision, character. Like that is what will truly make you stand out, like over the next few years. And what can help you to thrive is refinement of character. So the funny thing is, you know, you were saying before about your story, like how everything was taken away from you, like literally even your cognitive ability. So when life isn't going our way, like one thing that is consistent during those times is that our character is being refined,
Mm.
which is why we can give thanks and be truly grateful for the worst things that have happened for yourself if you know the value of having good character.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It always could have been worse. Always. And to be fair, when I was at the highest point, it could have been better. That's not up to me, right? That's up to God.
Well, your part be responsible. Um, so to give all the like to give all the praise to God in its entirety is not the most ideal, because you also want to be able to see yourself in the picture where you've taken responsibility and then God was able to work through you, through your
Mm-hmm.
efforts.
No, absolutely. God makes the stairs and I walk up. Yeah. There's some things that you just can't force in life. There's a lot of things that you can control as well.
And as long as you focus on what you can control and not what you can't, then you should be good.
Inshallah. But to be fair, what you did mention earlier about what you want is really beautiful. So realize that you'd you'd not only like to have a positive life, you'd also like to leave something positive for other people's lives as well.
Yeah, because you can't take any of it with you.
You
So,
know, you know, you know the truth is that's true. That's truly the dream. Truly, like if you want the best things of all, I think you've mentioned it, and the fact that you've got that vision in your head, I mean, that's incredible.
and the thing is that it's only logical, but then the vision is in the heart, but it's totally logical to me as well because um, a lot of people think that it's residual income that creates happiness. You look at the
Exactly.
rich, I
Mm-hmm.
see it, but the truth is that I believe it's residual impact that creates happiness.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, I heard you repeat it again, and you said it's logical for me because it's true. Because if it was logical for everyone, I can promise you a lot more people would be doing this.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah, but that's the thing is that currently in the world, the level of consciousness that exists as the average level is quite low, but it's raising. So it's not as if it's the lowest that it's ever been. But for most people on average, it's like they don't have a level of consciousness of which it's logical for this to be what you'd want to aspire for. And when I've looked more so at the smartest people in the world, like not necessarily the richest people, but the smartest people. People have like super high IQs, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, people like these physicians who literally know the ins and outs of the universe. And funnily enough, like all of them are gravitating towards understanding consciousness more. Um, and they they also agree that for them it's just logical to have more of a focus on like legacy than simple um, hoarding and gathering of possessions.
What does consciousness come from? Does it come from knowledge, or
No,
does it come from wisdom?
um, not necessarily. Like the so first of all, what do you think consciousness is?
I feel like consciousness is a level of awareness. That's pretty much what I think consciousness is. I think you first become aware of yourself and other people, then you become more aware of people's characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
maybe their emotions as well. Then you gain more and more knowledge until you you pretty much understand the. To be fair, I'm talking. I think now that I've explained my past to you, it's gonna make more sense. But I'm going off of what I remember. I don't necessarily remember the whole thing, but it's most of yourself, your self awareness of yourself,
Interesting.
and yeah. First, it starts off with other people, and then it comes to yourself, and then that's when you have that level of self conscious. That level. Correct me if I'm wrong, brother.
Well, Yasmin, same question to you if you're there.
I appreciate it, man.
Consciousness. What do you know about it? What do you think it is?
Consciousness
So
of
are you
myself
asking
or
me
the
what do I know
creator?
about consciousness?
Can you ask that again, Yasmin? I didn't hear.
I said consciousness of myself or the creator.
Either.
Well, consciousness of Allah means like you're aware of His presence all the time, which sort of guides your actions. Then that's how I think of it. Because if you're always aware, you're more less likely to do things that you shouldn't be doing, and more
Yeah.
likely to do things that would be rewarded.
Mm.
So selfless things like, you know, yeah.
So both of you use the word awareness, which is, I feel like, pretty spot on. Because what the physician says that consciousness is awareness tied with memory. So you know how Taha, like you were saying about
Mm-hmm.
when you had your accident, like one of the things that disappeared was your memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is the thing is that what that actually symbolizes is that it might not have necessarily been so much of just a drop in intelligence, but it may have
Mm-hmm.
actually represented a drop in consciousness.
Absolutely
Certain,
fact.
certain, yeah, certain memories you just didn't have access to whilst you were operating from that level of consciousness. So,
I feel like, especially, I feel like the world, it's kind of a mad topic, but I feel like the reason why people are not conscious that much anymore in this world is because they're wounded. And I don't mean wounded by pain. It could be pain. It certainly was pain to me. But I mean, pain could be poison as well. Scrolling endlessly on TikTok, just feeding yourself things that you shouldn't be feeding yourself. It is a kind of a deep conversation when you really think about it. But yeah, I think that people are just not really aware of themselves no more, and I feel like we are getting pushed away from each other, whether it's the media controlling us. People, when you mention this type of thing, people don't really want to believe it, but it's the truth. Tell me, Mohammed. Tell me more about the gut health, bro. What you've been talking about for the last couple of years. Why do you think they're feeding us this crappy food? Hmm?
ties to the consciousness.
Yes. I feel like, you know what? I feel like it definitely helps the consciousness, but yeah, it ties to it. But you don't really. It's more of a helping hand. To be fair with you, I've realized with me, once I look after my gut, I do definitely feel better. I do have the same energy that I had when I was 20, even younger than that. That's because I had to take care of my gut. But obviously, when I was eating crap when I was 20 years old, I still had that level of energy. So it does mean a lot to me now. It means completely different. Um, but yeah, when you really zoom out on things as well, you do really see things for what they really are, and consciousness gives you that, really, doesn't it? To actually process and understand. I think we're just living just like, I don't know. It's just unconscious life. Really, you just go to work. You don't really think. People don't really want to think no more. I'm trying to make it make sense to me. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on it as well.
Yeah. I mean, does it make sense to you?
It does. It does. In some way, yeah.
Is there any way that it doesn't?
From what I said, no. I'm starting to, the more I think about it, the more I realize that consciousness is more of a superpower, if you ask me. Like the power that you get from it, not only the confidence, the the how can I but just the level of understanding, really. It's definitely something that's valuable. That I feel like, yeah, well, when we're talking about AI and everything, yeah, I feel like it's a lot of people are not going to be conscious. Like it's going to be just brainlessly just doing what doing what AI does for you, or relying on something that's not got to do with you. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
I definitely see a world where I hope not in 10 years, but the way AI is developing, it's crazy. Like the past 2 years, look where it is now. I won't be surprised if even if it is 10 years, but where people are just like so reliant on robots and AI that they don't really think or want to think. Because think about it, like I feel like especially when people go to school, they finish school and they just switch off their mind. They're like, okay, you know what? That's the education out of the way. Time to switch off my mind, and then they just live that cycle where they go work, come back home, relax, and just have kids and get married and whatever.
Yeah, that's a program.
Yeah, it just all connect. I just don't want to. I think the truth is, no one wants to be a part of that program, but we still live in it. Well, not all of us, but a lot of us. But going a bit off topic now, but going back to what we were talking about consciousness. Consciousness is truly important. What I said, and that's one thing I didn't mention. What Yasmin mentioned is God as well, having that consciousness of God, because you'll have that consciousness of yourself, and then with God, it's even better because it's always a reminder, and it's always a awareness as well.
Yeah. So Yasmin did talk about having consciousness of God. Now, the question that I'd like to ask both of you is, what is God's consciousness?
Long story, like I feel like when we were talking about consciousness, you were talking about that level of awareness that you have. Well, it's emotional um, awareness that you have between person or between yourself. Like you understand how you operate and how you think, and having that awareness, basically that self awareness. Now having that self awareness of God, I feel like it's a different thing. So having that self consciousness of yourself is within yourself. Having that self consciousness of God is within God. So that kind of means to me personally, I see it of positivity, and that basically leads me on track. So it's positive and negative. So God and the devil, basically. So positive or negative, and having that awareness that this is right, this is wrong, and then having that other self awareness where it's like I understand myself, how I operate, combining them two together, it's it's pretty much powerful. Once you know how you operate and how other people operate, and you understand what's good and what's bad, then life just gets a lot more easier. Yasmin, what do you think?
I think we're conflating conscience with consciousness. There's
Sorry,
a
repeat that.
difference.
What do you
Because
say?
your
Am I getting some
your
mixed up?
consciousness, this is what I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. You said God, what is God? God's conscious. Is that is that what you said, Mo?
What is God's consciousness?
I wouldn't really say that, because is that giving God like human qualities now?
No, see,
So okay, let's just go. Let's take one step back, right? So your consciousness is your soul. I think that's where the consciousness comes from, and your soul is connected to the Creator, because it comes from the Creator. So that's why you have this connection, and that connection gets disrupted when you're not conscious when you're not conscious of the Creator anymore, or you lose that connection because you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Like you said, when the devil's, you know, like, I don't like using the devil as always the bad guy, because sometimes it's just human nature. So we keep giving the devil, we just keep blaming him for everything. Which, well, he does have some, you know, responsibility there. But like, I think I wouldn't say what is God's consciousness, because he's beyond that. For me, he's beyond that. But a human consciousness is the soul that's connected directly to its creator. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. Like you don't want to give God human qualities because he ain't human.
Yeah, because I
Um,
wouldn't understand what would that mean? What would it mean? In my head, I don't see. It doesn't make sense to
okay.
say what is God's consciousness. He is
Yeah.
consciousness, so you know what I'm saying.
Ooh, that's a different answer then. So you said he is consciousness. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. It just came out of my mouth. I don't really know, but I just feel like it's beyond. He's beyond that. Like, even just, I don't even like saying he. When I
Yeah.
say Allah, I just say Allah in the first person. I don't say he or whatever. I kind of don't like doing that often. You know, when it's just a matter of speech or whatever, yeah, I'd say he, but I just, it doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, so that's because God is genderless. So
Yeah. And even in the Quran, it's the plural is used, like we, because it's not, there's no, yeah, the minute you start putting like a he or she, then people start associating with like a man.
yeah,
Or some even say she, like they, so it's just, so for me, like I don't like doing that at all, really. But when you say God conscious, what is God's consciousness? I don't even understand what that means, to be honest.
yeah. So this is the thing: is the gender is not just a human quality, but it's a quality for animals.
Yeah, creation basically.
Yes, it's a quality for creation and creatures, but also creators, because God created all three.
Yeah,
So um, the I think the truest statement that you said was God is consciousness, and I don't think you even know like how where that came from, how accurate it was, but that was an intuitive answer that was pretty spot on. So I did a little bit of I asked ChatGPT a question, bringing that into the mix as well. How is God? Well, first I said, "Is God consciousness?" And it was like, "Yeah, straight up, God is consciousness." Then I asked, "How is God consciousness?" And it said, "Well, God consciousness is pure being aware of itself, without distortion, without division, without effort. It doesn't think about awareness. It is awareness. It has no edge, no start, no opposite. It's the stillness before creation and the intelligence within it. So imagine a boundless
right,
living silence, not empty, but infinitely alive. That's closer
right.
to it. So where human consciousness flickers, shaped by perception,
Mm,
memory, emotion, God consciousness is steady,
mm,
absolute clarity. It perceives all layers of existence at once, the
right,
seen and the unseen, the cause and the effect, the seed and the fruit simultaneously. So when we ask how is God consciousness, it's limitless awareness that knows through love, acts through wisdom, and rests in unity. It's the eternal I am that your own I am echoes faintly.
right. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that's sort of from the book, in it, like
From the
the Moses
code.
Code. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
exactly.
that's why I was saying, like, our consciousness as humans is connected to the Creator, because our consciousness comes from the soul, not from the animal body that we're in. So it's even beyond this worldly life, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
So
Yeah,
consciousness doesn't die when the body dies.
no.
They just move to a sort of different realm, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I think I equate consciousness with the soul. I think that's, for me, like a mental picture. I see that. I can see that being equal.
So the real question then is there a difference between consciousness and the human soul? Is that what you're saying?
I see them as being equal.
Okay.
Like a human consciousness and the soul, that's what it is. That's what the soul is. Does that does that make sense?
I get what you're saying. Yeah. And again, like I asked that question to AI, and it says, I asked, is there a difference between consciousness and the human soul? And AI says, yes, there is a distinction, but it's subtle. So think of it this way: consciousness is the field, infinite, formless, timeless awareness itself. But the soul is an individualized expression of that consciousness, the divine spark which the infinite experiences the finite. So in the Quran it says, I breathed into him of my spirit. That breath is what we call the soul. It carries God's qualities, awareness, will, love, creativity, but it's still a ray from the source. It's not the sun itself. Consciousness is the ground rule.
So I get that. Like the soul, even though Allah says He breathed the soul into the human, it's still a separate creation.
Say that again?
It's still like the soul, even though we say it's part of the Creator, because Allah breathed. That's what He says literally. He's like breathe the soul into the human, but it's still a separate creation. It's not an embodiment of the Creator. Or am I getting this wrong? It's like,
so it's a question to ask, which is the soul a separate creation to the Creator? That's the question.
Yeah. Because you can't be one with the Creator either. I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, I mean, is the soul a separate creator? Again, AI says a profound question, and the answer depends on the level of reality that you're looking from. So from the human perspective, yes, the soul is created being. And the Quran says, then he fashioned him and breathed into him of the spirit. That breath means emanated the soul into existence. So the soul depends on the creator for its being, and this is distinct. It's not equal to God, not independent of him. But, and here's the big but, from the divine perspective, there is no separation. The soul does not exist outside of God. It exists within him as an expression of his own being. Just as the sunbeam isn't other than the sun, the soul isn't other than the source. Its reality is God's light refracted through the prism of individuality. So in creation, the soul is other than God, a creature. But in essence, it is of God, nothing but his presence appearing as you. So this is the paradox of the mystics: live inside, created yet eternal, separate yet never apart.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But I think for me, I need to separate it in my head as being a part of the Creator, but not taking away anything from the Creator. You know what I'm saying? So the soul was breathed into all humans, right? All life, but it doesn't take away from His majesty, or you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing that He's given us; we've taken from. You know what I'm saying? Go on. We have like a piece of it, but but when you say a piece, when you say a piece in a literal sense, it means you've taken something. You understand?
So it makes him incomplete.
Yeah, and I that doesn't sit right with me in my head. So I need to look at it as the soul being a separate creation, but more connected to the source. You know what I'm saying? So, because that's like your consciousness is never negative. There's no, yeah, it can't be. Can't be.
Yeah, even if you've got low content.
Even if, yeah, because it's coming from the source, isn't it? And this, like you said, from a, like the consciousness, the soul comes from love and all good things that Allah has given us. But that the evil that is in human beings, there is evil in every human being. Yeah. That's not the same. It's not equal. They're not equal. They're not coming from the same. Am I making sense? I'm waffling because it's late now. Huh?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So we know that there's a difference between humans and God. We know
That's
that.
a distinctive difference, right? Yeah, we can say that, but it's the soul that's bothering me now. I can't equate it.
So how about this? What's the opposite of the soul?
There is no opposite of the soul. The soul never dies, and the reason why the soul never dies is because it's straight from the source. Yeah. Oh, you mean when you die? Yeah. So when you die, when the body dies, the soul is questioned, not the actual body. But that's
still got to make a choice.
Yeah, true.
But it has to be distinct.
It has to be separate from the creator, and you can't equate it to the creator either, because then every soul would be good, but every soul is not good. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense enough. Yeah.
So you said every soul is not good. What do you mean by that?
Because, like, now you've got me thinking about when you die. So, okay, so the human, while it's alive, right? The human, while it's alive, is no, the soul is just housed in the human body, basically. So then, the question becomes like, the actions that you do while you're a human being, is it the soul's responsibility? Yes, because when you die, the soul is questioned, because the soul never dies. Yeah. So if you were an evil person when you were, in this world, then you can't be a good soul. You came from the source, but you chose to do, you chose to follow, what you want meant to follow.
So I guess here's the next question then. A baby's like born with evil within them.
Yeah. No, like, okay, so look, this is now very deep. Okay. This is like very deep. Okay. Okay, let's just, from an Islamic perspective now, right?
Okay.
So human beings, right, have freedom, free will, right? And but this, oh, how am I gonna say now? How do I say that? So the soul, before it's placed into the human, its destiny is already written.
Predetermined, right?
Right? So Allah knows that soul is going to be, he's heading for the hellfire, because that's just how it is. Because the world, the creation has to be in balance. You can't just have all good souls and all bad souls. There has to be a balance, right? But while that soul is in that human, even as a baby, it's not evil as yet until it makes the choice to do evil,
Yes, you got it.
right? As it grows up, obviously. So a baby is innocent because it's innocent. They don't have that ability to choose between right and wrong. As you get older and you are now responsible and you choose to do evil, that choice, even like, this is something that troubles me a lot. Like, I think I even hear my eldest, she asks me this sometimes. If it's predetermined, then it's not your fault. But the point is that the choice is still yours. But Allah knows you will make the wrong choice, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gives you the choice.
you have the choice, but you still make the wrong choice, because that's why He knows that soul is destined for. Like the story of Khidr and Musa alayhi salam we were speaking about the other day.
Salam.
You know the story of Khidr and Musa alayhi salam. When
Yes, yeah.
he killed a little boy. When they traveled together, Khidr and Musa alayhi salam, and he killed a little boy. And Musa alayhi salam was like shocked, like, you just killed a little boy. But he was patient because he told him, don't ask me why. And then the next thing, and he did things that Musa alayhi salam was like, what is going on? What's wrong with this guy? He's just like, breaking all the rules. But the wisdom was given to him from Allah that this soul is not going to do anything good when it gets older.
Hmm.
So, and he would be, a burden to his parents. So in order to save those parents, that child needed to die. So, like, it sounds like it sounds brutal, isn't it? And I can see it from like a non-Muslim perspective, like how they would see that as being barbaric. But as a Muslim, I think for me, I can reconcile that with that your life doesn't belong to you. Basically, this world doesn't. Nothing belongs to you anyway. The body that you're housed in doesn't belong to you either. You know, because you are answerable for everything.
You're responsible.
Yeah, the soul is responsible.
Consciousness is different.
So then do we then then can you conflate the consciousness with the soul? I don't know.
They're separate.
Hmm.
Your thoughts and actions are separate to your soul. It's pure and clean. Breathe into.
Is the soul always pure and clean though? Is it?
We corrupt the soul.
We corrupt the soul, but what are we? Are we not just the consciousness? I don't know. I'm gone. I think it's too late now.
Separate completely.
I'm waffling now.
Let's take a look at what you said. So the original question was, do babies come to this earth with evil born inside of them? And you answered it by saying that, well, it's predetermined that they will do evil, but the evil isn't in them until they've made the choice.
Yes.
Which means that the soul itself is pure. So if you imagine, like, the soul could be represented by water in this glass.
Mm-hmm.
I could pour in some pure water into this glass, and I know that you might like dilute juice, the concentrated, what do they call it, cordial.
Yes, squash. Yeah.
So I know, based off of your tendency, that you're going to make this impure by putting in all of those chemicals into it to make it taste better. But when I made it initially, it was pure. So when then there is impurities that are put in, the question is, it's still the soul. Or is
Still
it
the soul, because it belongs to the source of the soul. The soul belongs to the source, whether it's evil or good.
Placed into a body.
But what makes us then contaminate it? Is that the consciousness
Placed
that
into
makes
the
it,
womb.
that makes us contaminated soul?
Yeah. The environment.
Or is it in the environment? No, I don't think it's the environment. Is it the destiny?
Well, if you
Exactly.
look at like the original souls, Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
what was it that contaminated them?
Third eye. Or the shaitan.
No, the original
Temptation.
yeah, like we don't say original sun, that's just haram like to say that, right? But we can't say it. Is like from Shaitan's perspective, his original sin was jealousy and envy,
Right.
right? Pride. But from Adam and Hawa's side, their sin or whatever was not obeying, and allowing their humanness,
Desires.
yeah, their animal desire sort of to like take over in that sense, like the curiosity. Curiosity always kills the cat, isn't it? So that's basically what happened to them. Is they didn't listen to the order they were given, because even with that story, I listened to a lecture once. I don't know when it was, but it was a while ago, and I think it was Noman Ali, something like he said that Allah knew that they would do that because their destiny was always Earth. So they were meant to come to Earth. That was just the way they would end up in Earth. You know, they could have ended up in a different way, but their destiny was always to be on Earth. That's what it was created for. So yeah, even like the sin, we don't say it's like the sin. It was just their destiny. Did they commit a sin? No, but they felt guilty for not obeying, and they asked forgiveness. But they were still sent to Earth because that was their destiny.
Okay, so this is an interesting question because you said they didn't commit a sin because it was their destiny. So then the question is, does sinning even exist?
Yes.
How?
Same for another person. Go to. Adam
I
and Eve
think
had the one doing the sin to think you're this is not a sin.
no. If you're given an order, right, and you break the order, then it's a sin. Because if there was no sin, there would be no punishment. In order to have punishment, you have to have broken the rules.
Yeah, but they're set. Them rules are all set. Who set
Yeah,
them?
yes. The rules are set in the Quran, basically.
But if you do another set of rules, then that could be the set. And that set could be discarded. So
Yeah, but that is why we follow the last
yeah,
book, because that is where all the
that's the Ten
laws
Commandments.
are.
Ten Commandments.
Yeah, but the last book is sort of a completion of all of that, of all the ones that come before it.
Yeah.
So it encompasses those ones and some extra ones, and that's the law. So you break the law, you're gonna pay the price. That's it. It's not. Yeah,
But
but
who set the law?
yeah, but like even with punishment, it's not eternal for some. It's depending on the crime, basically.
A person knows what a sin is, but what I'm saying is, we don't really know completely. We know exactly, we can differentiate the major sins, but like,
Basically, whatever,
oh,
like a sin is what you would call breaking the law.
what is the law? That's what I'm saying.
The law is written into
Yeah, but
you
they don't
going
follow
around
the
in
Quran.
circles.
They follow
What are you talking about? I'm just
law.
no. I'm saying like the soul now. The soul has to have
Yeah, exactly. It's a different law, bro.
a sin to be able to get punished for.
God got different laws.
So sin does exist, obviously. I would say yeah, definitely. Because if sin didn't exist, then we wouldn't need to be punished.
But punish here can be different.
Are we talking about the punishment in the hereafter as the soul? Because the soul is the one that gets punished, isn't it?
Yeah.
That answer the question.
I was just asking if you remember. I was asking if there's any such thing as a sin. So what was your direct answer to that?
Yes.
There is a sin, and you believe that there is a sin, but Adam didn't sin. That's what you said.
No, of course they did.
They sinned because they didn't obey the order that Allah gave them. So that was their sin.
That's the
But
only sin available at the time.
we don't accept as Muslims that their punishment was to come to us. It was not a punishment for them to come to us. It was always their destiny to come to us.
So okay, got
So
you.
when they sort of transgress now by doing what they weren't supposed to do and going to that tree that they weren't supposed to go to, they felt the shame and they regretted and they asked for forgiveness. So Allah forgave them, but He still sent them to earth. But because earth was not their punishment, but earth is not their punishment. Earth was always meant for them.
It wasn't a nice thing.
It wasn't a nice thing. We should just stayed in heaven.
That's what he said. He said, "Get down from here, you three, all of you, get down, get out."
Yeah, but it was always their destiny to get down.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So
here's the thing, right? So here's the question now is, so you know what a sin is, like the definition of a sin.
yeah, breaking the rule, basically.
No, so the actual definition of a sin means to miss the mark.
Right.
So where the word sin came from is from archery, where you would have someone that would pull the bow and arrow and they have to hit the mark, the target. So when they wouldn't hit the target, that would be classed as the sin. So that's where the word comes from. So it means to miss the target, to miss the mark. So this is what I'm saying. Like if you are saying that they were supposed to be in the earth, then they have sinned because they hit the mark.
No, I don't think I'm saying that. Well, they sin because they disobeyed. They disobeyed, right? But I don't think their punishment was coming to us. Does that make sense? So, like, I can, like, just say you steal something, right? Just say you steal something from a shop, right? And you get caught, and you say, "I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I just like couldn't help myself, whatever." And the shopkeeper says, "Okay, it's fine. I forgive you."
That's what they do anyway now.
No, just say. So your punishment. So they didn't get punished because they asked forgiveness, and Allah forgave them.
And got caught.
Well, they got caught first, and then they asked forgiveness, obviously, right? But the fact is that they were forgiven. They weren't said, "Oh, go down there as your punishment." You understand what I'm saying?
Obviously, it's not the same level.
Whether they listened or not, whether they sinned or not, they were still going to come down. That's what it's not meant to be their punishment.
Is that true then? So what you're saying is that if they didn't eat the apple, God would have still taken them out of the garden.
Yes. Yes. Even if they obeyed and didn't go near that tree. But the lesson they needed to learn from that was, when you listen to Shaitan and his whisper, he's going to lead you astray. Because I told you to do something and you deliberately disobeyed because you chose to listen to this whisper in your ear. Listen, right? So the lesson was that.
Yeah.
The lesson was not, if you do this, I'm gonna punish you and send you to earth and curse the rest of your species. So I think like as Muslims, I don't accept that as humans were punished by being sent to earth. Because the souls, because before all of this happened, before even Adam alayhi salam was created as a clay figure, the souls were created a long time before that. Yes, and every soul was asked, look at this earth. Do you want to go there one day? And every soul answered yes. So this is why we can't say, oh, we didn't ask to be put here and put through the test, because we did. We were asked and we did say yes. You understand? It is deep, but this is like the disclaimer that Allah has, because He's like, no, I did ask you and you said yes, so you got sent to us. But as I'm saying, the destiny of the human being was always meant to be to come to us. The lesson that Adam alayhi salam had to learn before coming here was that if you listen to those whispers, He's going to lead you astray and make you do things you were ordered not to do.
Okay.
And then you will have the choice of asking for forgiveness or facing the consequence of it.
Okay. So I see what you're saying, because what you're saying is, if God didn't show mercy to Adam, then he would have not even been given the earth. He'd have been given something else.
So if they didn't ask forgiveness, basically, he's saying, if they didn't recognize their mistake and ask forgiveness, then maybe they would have been punished. But that was not their destiny.
Would they have had all their children in the Garden of Eden? No.
No, because that was not the purpose of human beings were not created to be in Jannah all the time.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be our sort of reward,
in a way.
after this existed, after this.
Yeah. Their punishment, leaving that
No, that was not their punishment. Because then you're saying that, oh, you made a small mistake and you asked forgiveness and Allah didn't forgive you. Instead, He punished you and sending you down to earth.
If you're in a 5-star,
no,
and they come and say, sorry, you got to go down to the lower floor basement. You're gonna not be happy, are you? But when you get down there, you're gonna create a big population.
That's my point, right? My point is, your destiny was always going to be the basement for a short time, right? So you were given the taste of the heaven, right?
So you see the
And
5-star.
so you see where you can be, right? But you're gonna go to the basement anyway, whether you like it or not, right? And you're gonna be faced with like rats and all of that stuff. Okay, if you survive it and you do whatever I told you to do, then you'll get back to the 5-star penthouse. Right. If you don't, you're gonna go even further than the basement.
You sampled it, so you tell them.
Here's the question. Here's the question. So I think you raised a good point there about like going from 5-star to the 1-star. Like, how was it? Yeah. how is it a gift from God to go from 5-star to 1-star? Like, why would God bless him with that?
So, so this is what I think.
Sin
This
comes
is what I think. Okay. So Allah's wisdom is beyond us. We don't understand His wisdom. Okay. Creation is not just what we are aware of, firstly, right? Our perception of creation is very limited, right? The purpose of every creation has a purpose, whether it's on this earth or not. Yeah. So we just humans think that we're the only creation and all this around us is for us. I have serious you know doubts about that, because if Allah's calling Himself the creator that always creates, that means this can't be it. Yeah. Now I forgot what I wanted to say now. What was I saying? Oh my goodness. It's too late for me. So wait. So the
What you
purpose of the
mentioned,
human creation was this. Come onto this earth, face the challenges, the tests, and all of that, right? And then you either get the reward of what you did, or you get the punishment. So we can't say that Adam alayhi salam and Hawa were punished by being put on earth, because this was always meant to be their test. All of us, all this human creation.
Yeah.
So it was not because we were punished that we got sent here, because then we would already be punished. So we're going to get punished again then, isn't it? So why are we paying the price of that? Then again, you're taking the sort of the Christianity viewpoint of us paying the price of our father's sin, basically.
Saying that though, if Adam alayhi salam was shown all the souls before he was brought into his body, then he must have known.
What?
He must have known what was going to happen, and he must have thought, "1 minute, all right, we're going to have all these children. I've seen all our souls. It was Adam alayhi salam who was shown, not Hawa. So he would have known, and he would have maybe said, "Right, come on,
Irrespective
do
of
that,
whether
do
he
that,
knew or not, but
Yeah.
maybe he didn't know that they would have to live on this earth until
He didn't know where.
that incident happened, and then they were put down. But the fact that I'm saying to say that this cannot be their punishment, because this was always meant to happen. Because we can't say Allah is all merciful, but yet He didn't forgive that first transgression that happened. You understand?
But if you see a story,
And on the other hand, if you look at Iblis, right, he transgressed by disobeying, not bowing down. But he didn't ask forgiveness. He went more arrogant and said, "No, I'm not, doing this, because this human is not even anything close to me." So he did the opposite. So he is going to be punished, but at the end of all of this. Yeah. I don't know. I think we've lost everybody here. It's just me talking to myself.
guys, I think
I know.
now's my bedtime.
Oh, sorry, still there.
So it's good speaking to you, Mohammed. It's nice meeting you, Asman.
You too.
Take
Sorry,
care,
I
guys.
just like this is too late for me, so I'm just waffling on now.
That was very great.
I think
Great
it's a very deep
very interesting.
conversation. It just needs like some deep thought.
You guys take care. Good night.
All right,
You
we'll
too.
see you.
Keep in touch, bro.
Yeah, man. We'll see you next time, man.
See you later, bro.
Take care. Um,
I think we scared him.
um, you were saying that
Consciousness.
yeah.
And the thing, even you seem, oh, even you losing it now.
No. So I'm trying to say in the simplest way. So the question is, if Earth is a mercy, and I see exactly what you're saying. Right. So if Earth is genuinely a mercy, then why is it better? So here's the actual question: was it better for humans to experience floor 1 instead of 5-star?
Yeah, because if you just go straight to 5-star, you don't appreciate it,
No,
isn't it?
this is what
Like my dad always told me that, when I just got my license, I remember, and I wanted like no, and I wanted this car, and he's like, no, you're not getting that one. You're gonna get like this one, which is like the cheapy, And I was like, but why? It's like, because you won't appreciate and take care of that one until you learn to take care of this one, you know? So that's what I got. Like, it wasn't banged up or anything, but it was just a simple, and which I did bang up anyway. So that's how I learned my lesson. So if you just get everything, given to you on a silver platter, you don't appreciate it.
Yeah, that's one thing for sure, is to give you contrast.
Mm.
So it can give you contrast in terms of knowing what you have is like genuinely a lot, because you don't know what a lot is until you know
Yeah.
what a little is.
Yes.
So it's like helping you to truly become abundance rather than operating from lack. So that's one aspect. Another thing is, like, if you go and stick with the contrast thing, if God did it to give us contrast, because that's the separation between the heavenly realm and the earthly realm, it's the polarity. There is no polarity that exists in heaven.
Yeah.
So over here,
Well,
like,
there's different levels of heaven in it. So
yeah.
So like for instance, they say the worst the worst believer, even though they were like a believer and they did everything wrong, they still get to the sort of entry gate
Yeah.
eventually, right?
So let me say,
So it can't be equated to the ones that have,
no. So let me say it differently. There's no polarity in the divine with God.
right?
So God is just like on a. He's not got the opposites. He doesn't have good
Yeah.
and evil. It's just
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
So if that's what we're looking at, then when humans like Adam came to Earth first, and you're saying that it's a mercy and it's a gift, then what do we get? We get contrast. We get contrast that helps us to have appreciation.
Mm.
But here's another way to put it: is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Hunger Games.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So like in the final Hunger Games, which is actually a prequel, it's where the general has to go into the Hunger Games himself as a kid. Is like one of the first ones, and he never knew why the Hunger Games was created, and he asked, and like he only found out at the end of the movie once he went through it. And so the person that was like the architect of it asked him, "Why do you think the Hunger Games was created?" And his answer was, "Because it reveals who you are."
Mm. Yeah.
So when you can see the contrast of who you're not, then
Yes.
you know exactly who you are with more certainty. Because in Islam as well, like, there's different levels of certainty.
Yeah.
So there's certainty, which is like based off of just what you know. There's certainty, which is like emotional certainty, what you can feel. And there's certainty, which is embodied certainty from your experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, why did Adam come to Earth? Well, so his people could have certainty. But this is also the answer to the question of why did God create man in the first place? Because without man, he didn't have certainty.
Yeah, again, see, like, then we're trying to say that who's the certainty for? For the creation or for the creator?
So it can be for both.
Nah. So humans now would need to go through all of this to be certain of who they are. So the soul destiny is written out, but the human experience brings out that certainty of that soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the question is, why did God create human?
Well, why did he create anything? You know, again, we're assuming that humans are the only things that exist.
Yeah, sure. So why did God create?
Because he's the creator. He calls himself the creator.
So if he's the creator, why did he create? If he already had the certainty, like, there already. He already knew he's
It could be for his own amusement, could be his own.
We can't even say that though, isn't it? Like the minute you say it's for his own amusement, then why would he need to be amused, isn't it? Why would he need to be amused? Why would he need certainty? He's certain. He's the beginning and the end is, what I'm saying.
It could be just this is one test he's got around in all these universes.
Yes, exactly. This is exactly, yeah. I think that also because
we're just insignificant.
like Allah says he's the creator, but it doesn't mean it's just like a limited creation and he's just done this now and now he's just watching us.
It's limitless.
But creator in the sense of continuously creating.
Yeah.
Understand? So it's not just the limited, I've created this now, I'm just going to watch them and see what they do. And then the end result is hell, heaven, or whatever, and that's it. No, because again, we're limiting what we like can comprehend.
Yeah, because we've learned. We've learned.
As a human, we have limited comprehension. We only use 7% of our brain or something like that. Even that's for a reason. So why can't we see angels, for example? Because our brain couldn't comprehend it. We'd just fall down and die probably from shock.
But there's probably another source that can interact with all that.
Yeah, there is. But I'm saying there's a reason why we're not given certain knowledge or wisdom. It's because our brains can't comprehend it. We cannot even comprehend the magnitude of Allah because it's beyond our comprehension. So to give Allah sort of human constraints, like needing certainty or needing something, or I can't accept it.
No. So it's not about what it needs. It's more about what it serves. So when you think about God creating, it must have been for a purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like,
But that purpose is beyond our comprehension, I think. That's what I think.
why?
Because why? How?
Imagine. Why can't
Yeah,
we
but
imagine?
this, your imagination is limited. That's what I'm saying. Our comprehension is limited.
Imagine to a limit. That's it. Yeah,
That's why we are told not to imagine what you think Allah looks like, for example, because you can't even imagine it. It's not. It's beyond your imagination. It's beyond your brain's ability,
But we've got enough images in our
right?
brain. Enough things
Yes,
to
but we
explore.
have images of what we can see.
And what we know.
You have no comprehension of something you've never seen. It's like telling a blind person there's a horse there, but he doesn't even know what a horse looks like,
Yeah, you can describe it.
isn't it? You can even if you describe it, he doesn't know what the color brown is. So it doesn't make a difference to him. He's
You can
blind. He's
describe
born
it.
blind. He's never seen. You can't describe something to a blind person because they've never seen anything in their life. You understand?
Mm.
You can't even describe a color because they've never seen color. You can't describe a shape. They've never seen shapes.
True.
You understand? So that's what I'm saying. So if you say
No, you can feel.
the
What about
purpose,
feel?
what is the purpose of creation?
What about feeling?
How are we supposed to know what is the purpose of creation? Maybe we might have some sort of perception of what the purpose of this creation was, but there's creations out there that we have no idea exist. They all have a purpose, unlike us, unlike our purpose. So even that's beyond our comprehension. So like you say, the purpose of this creation, I don't have the answer to that. I don't think anyone has the answer to that. Not even ChatGPT.
I mean, do you want to test it?
They could test it, but I wouldn't believe it, to be honest, because no one can know that. They say like there are questions we will only get the answer to when we meet the creator. Yes, I think this is one of them. What was the purpose of creating this human species?
So this is a good question to ask: is how can you discern between which questions a human being cannot, will not ever be able to answer because it's
Beyond
not
us.
which is like not just within comprehension but within our faculty. So there's just no way we can come to that answer.
Mhm.
And what are the questions that we can answer? So like where do you draw the line there?
Imagination.
No, I think that
Perfect
I think
imagination.
I think that won't be just one line, because it would be different for different
Exactly.
people based on
But they have a
the
right to.
wisdom that Allah has given them. Like some people are wise beyond, beyond others because they've been given that gift of wisdom. Right? So a wise person's answer to that question would be very different to, John next door or whatever. Yeah, so that would be, it wouldn't be just one line basically. It would be different for different people. But even then too, there's always going to be a limitation to that. No matter how wise the person is, there's still going to be a limit to their comprehension and what they understand about creation and the purpose of creation. I don't even think the Prophet ﷺ was asked this question. Because
You don't know.
I don't know. Does it ring a bell?
Creation.
No, what is the purpose of us? Yeah, he probably was asked that question. But creation as a whole?
No.
No.
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Because there were some questions that you're not just not meant to know, because it's not meant to know for now.
Why?
Because it's irrelevant. The purpose, so God's purpose for every creation
We would want to go.
is irrelevant to us as human beings.
And as human beings, we want to.
How is it relevant?
We want to go and take over that place. They would probably
Go
have
to Mars, isn't it?
we'd
Go
have
to
Trump
with
going
Elon
to there,
Musk.
yeah, want to take it over.
Can I share why it might be relevant?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the purpose of why God created us was known to us, then we would have like cheat codes. Because if we are like in alignment with that purpose, and our own
Yeah.
individual purposes are kind of like, not necessarily going like this, but it's more like
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but like, okay, so we're coming back to now, what is the purpose of humans? We are given the answer to that question.
What's our
Yeah.
purpose?
So the Quran says you've been created to worship your creator, basically. That's it. That's your
So this
purpose. But
is
then
another.
what does worship encompass then? Because worship doesn't mean you just sit in the mosque 24 hours a day and
Yeah.
worship, right? So worshiping encompasses everything, your daily life, basically, because that's what being a Muslim is. It's the way of life. So, but you are given the best example of the way to live, and that's what you're supposed to sort of stick to, and you're going to deviate from time to time, and do things you're not supposed to do, but then there's always forgiveness, and you come back and you stick to the plan again. So we know what our purpose is on this planet. We have a clear answer for that. But purpose of all creation, that's beyond us.
Or God's purpose. That was
Was that the initial question you said? What was?
yeah. What was the purpose of creation itself? Like why? Like it was a purposeful act. Is another way to put it. Everything that God does is intentional.
Yeah, like
Purpose.
everything has a reason.
We've got business owners
Has a purpose. Yeah.
who have different hands in different businesses. So
Hmm.
you might have one global business, but you think he's got another business. He's got
Yeah.
another business, and he's
Yeah.
got another business. But
Yeah.
we put it undercover that you don't even know about. That he's just a silent partner. That's,
Right. Yeah.
that's how Allah, and like in a bigger sense, he's got other plans. He's got other things going on. He's not just committed to us.
Yeah. I think we are but arrogant to think that.
It's just us.
Yeah.
He's got other ventures.
Yeah, but again, it coming back to the same question of what is Allah's reason or purpose or whatever. And I don't think we can answer that question. We can't, because we don't have the capacity for it.
What if we could?
I would highly doubt. Not even highly. I wouldn't. Like I say, humans could maybe, come to some sort of agreement as to why Allah created us. Yes, because we given that, we're told why we were created, and then you can sort of, there's a whole umbrella that we can, you put worship, put under worship. Yeah. So we'll probably come up with a good answer to that, but it doesn't answer all of creation, because that would mean that all other creation was just for humans.
It took us 15,000 years, Galileo, to find the first planet.
Galileo.
No, but I'm saying it took us that long to find the first planet.
Yeah, but again, we're coming down to humans being arrogant enough to assume that everything else that was created was for us.
Exactly.
And is that fair? I don't know.
15,000 years, sorry. 15,000 years.
Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I don't know.
Now you're like, well, we didn't know a lot of stuff for a long time. Maybe
Exactly.
it's something which will become obvious later on in the future when we level up our consciousness and awareness and intelligence.
But then we're assuming that the prophets or the people that came before us weren't at a higher level of consciousness than we are.
Well, not necessarily. It could just be that maybe they understood. Maybe they had that wisdom. Maybe they knew these things, but it's either been lost, diluted. Chinese whispers, like something. And so, like the prophets at the highest level of consciousness, I think that's why they performed the miracles is partly because they had a heightened awareness of the answers to some.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but even the prophets, yeah, obviously they had higher levels of consciousness than we do. I agree with that 100%. But even they needed to get sent a messenger in the form of an angel.
To guide them, to reassure them.
So their consciousness was not enough.
Yeah, Musa forward. Everyone, they're all forward.
So we are connected, yes, we are connected to the Creator, but not in a sense where we can tap into that source whenever we feel like, or even if you reach this higher state of consciousness, you're not able to tap into that source unless the source wants you to know something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So even if you look at all the prophets, yeah, I agree 100%. They were all a higher level of consciousness than we ever will be. But even they needed some sort of contact with the source to be able to receive that
Musa needed
information. Or
Moses.
like Musa Islam got the best one, to be honest, because he got Allah speaking to him in first person. So he got the, you know what I'm saying? So, but like I'm saying, is like we may get close to that consciousness, maybe if we're very lucky, but even then too, you can't tap into that source whenever you want to. I don't think that exists unless that source wants to give you something, or allow you to.
Or to show you a lesson.
Yeah. To get, yeah.
Like Dawood with the having to decide about that case between the thing. He made the wrong decision.
Which?
Dawood.
Yeah.
He had to make that decision. And he had to think. Every prophet was.
Yeah.
At some point, they needed Allah's help.
Yeah. Even they struggled. Like if you think of Yunus alayhi salam, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he had a higher consciousness from the people that he was sent to. Yeah. But even he got fed up because he's human after all. And his consciousness only hit him when he was in the belly of the whale again. But even then, too, he needed Allah to sort of say, okay, now you're not saying, I'm gonna forgive you.
Make you a prophet.
And then no, he was already a prophet. And then like spit him out now. The whale just spit him out and he's out. So the consciousness is there and maybe drops and goes up and down from time to time.
He wasn't already a prophet.
Of course he
Why
was.
would they throw him in the sea?
But they didn't listen to him. He went on a boat, isn't it? Because he left those people. These people are not listening to me. He got on the boat and he went.
His was a lesson. It wasn't. Yeah.
Listen, but what I'm saying is you can't compare yourself to the prophets because their level of consciousness was higher than ours.
Yeah.
Obviously, because that's why they were sent as messengers. Yeah, but even they needed a messenger or revelation or some sort of contact with the source. Basically, it was not their will to just tap into that source whenever they felt like it.
Lot needed help. Right, so they all needed.
They all at some point needed help. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we just gone off track again.
Is it? Or is it hitting the mark? Is it a sin or not? But
Wow, what's it doing my head in, man?
I think from what you're saying is that there's certain limitations, and I can feel like you're quite confident about what the limitations are for human beings. But here's my question: is like, where does this confidence come from? Like, what makes you so confident that we will never know these answers, and no one will be certain of this?
Why are you so confident?
Because I know my creator. And I can't put myself in the same.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm just going off what my limited knowledge knows. My brain knows this. This is what I've been taught, and this is what I've been taught, and this is what I comprehend from that teaching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is that the know-it-all mindset is usually the mindset that will prevent a person from being the most teachable. So, like, the levels of truth is that you've got ignorance, which is the first level, but before you even become ignorant, then you have to let go of your arrogance, because arrogance is the thing that keeps you away from that. So it might just be that it's a little bit of arrogance in this particular topic, which we
The
all have.
opposite of that. I think it's the opposite of that. I'll tell you why. Because if I was arrogant, then I would have then an answer to the purpose. You understand the purpose question? It's the opposite in the sense that I know my limitation. So I know where my humility needs to kick in. I know this much. And I know this much of my creator. But I don't know all of my creator because I'm not supposed to know. It's not relevant to my existence.
Okay. So
why not?
Why?
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
We know what.
Yeah, but we know what we've been told. Yeah, we know what we've been told as far as revelation is concerned. Yeah, and the Sunnah, which is what the Prophet ﷺ gave us as an extra, the explanations that come with it. Yeah,
yes.
That's it. Whatever's been left out of that is irrelevant to us and our existence on this planet.
Yeah.
If something's not been explained in the Quran and Sunnah, it's irrelevant to a human being's existence. Like, why don't we know about dinosaurs, for example? Why aren't dinosaurs mentioned in the Quran or the Sunnah? But we have bones that we find on the planet of these dinosaurs, of these creatures that were obviously living here on at one point before the humans came here. Why isn't that explained? Because it's irrelevant to our existence. It doesn't matter. They were put here for their purpose. Their time ended, and then we were sent
Yeah,
to
we
Earth.
were.
Before we were here, the jinn were on Earth also. They were put here for purpose. Okay, they are still here, but we don't have that connection with them, as in there's a barrier between us and them. Yeah. So, like I'm saying, there's lots of creations, the unseen. What is the unseen? It's not just what we don't know. There's lots of things we don't know because it's irrelevant.
I don't know. Can a bone stay healthy, alive, and be found after 60 million years?
How do you know?
It's not possible.
How do you know? You're just assuming. You're making assumptions.
I'm just
You're
saying.
making
Dinosaurs.
assumptions about a creation. So you're saying that Allah couldn't have created something that could have lasted this
Could have
long.
created,
Of
but
course, it
I
could.
don't know. I think it was. I don't believe in dinosaurs.
This is where like we're gonna like disagree, agree to disagree.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, there's always another person in the conversation when we have AI, and I've just asked AI the question, the ultimate question:
Huh.
what is the purpose of creation? Why did God create? So
Create
the
as a
response,
whole, you mean? Not just us?
yeah, just creation
Right.
is why.
Okay. Fine. Okay.
So he said, this is the deepest question there is, and the one every prophet, mystic, and philosopher has circled around since time began. The
Mm.
short answer is God created out of love to be known. In a sacred
Okay.
hadith, Qudsi, I don't know what that is, but a sacred hadith Qudsi,
Yeah.
Allah says, I
So
was a
Hadith Qudsi is what Allah says outside of the Quran. Yeah.
okay, says, I was a hidden treasure and I love to be known. So I created creation that I might be known.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What's the reference for that? Because I have issues with that one, to be honest.
Sense.
I can find out. Yeah. What's the reference? Where did you find this?
Yeah. I'll tell you why, right? Because again, we're putting humanly needs into the creator. The need to be known, the
But-
need to be seen is a human need.
We're gonna have a little trait of what he's created.
Yeah, but you're giving this. Okay, look,
We're gonna be.
you cannot equate the creator with creation.
No, but you're gonna have traits.
No, why? Why do you need to have a trait? Why?
Not a trait.
It's again your human arrogance that wants to
Why?
be. Yeah.
We create. He creates.
What do we create?
We create children.
No, we don't.
What do you mean? No,
But-
we get together and we create.
yeah,
So he
It's not
creates
different.
the same
Yes,
thing.
it's not the same thing because Allah creates for nothing. You don't create for nothing. You can't equate the two. It's completely different. You cannot equate creator with creation. When you say the need to be known, you're giving the creator a human weakness, really. Isn't it? That need to be known, to be seen, to be heard is a human weakness because we need it.
Yeah.
So
Don't you think that's subconsciously a trait of Allah? Maybe
why would he need to? Why would he need you to see him to feel
because
known?
because this is what CPG just said.
We don't know nothing with.
It's a feel. He wants to be known. He wants to be seen. He wants to be.
Again, because okay, if you look at all these AI, right? Okay, don't get me wrong, right? It's helpful. It's helpful, but they are programmed by human beings, and so they have human faults also. They have human limitations. So we are putting a human limitation on the Creator, and I can't agree with it. I can't agree with that. Sorry.
When you create a robot, doesn't it look like that? Doesn't it look like us? When we create a robot on AI robot,
You're
it's
saying
gonna
that a
look like
human
us.
creating a robot is the same as a creator creating you from
No, it's
nothing.
passing down. It's passing down. Allah's created us, so we do similar things that He's done. We create. He's created. He creates. We create.
Yeah. So one thing that is like, I don't think it says this in the Quran, but I know that like this is definitely one of the first things in the Bible it says is that God created humans in His image.
That's yeah, exactly.
We don't have an image of Allah.
We
We're
don't,
not
but
given an image. So I
that's-
don't think that that's purely from the Bible. I don't think there's any reference to that in
Sure.
the
So
Hadith or the Quran. But yeah. But even if you say that, right?
He created
Image
us
as in
in
what?
Adam.
Physically? No. I don't think it means physically.
Allah said something similar when He said He created us in the image of Adam. Alayhi salam.
Yes, we are created in the image of our Father, who is Adam.
Yeah.
Not in
yeah.
Allah's image.
So no. So actually, there's a hadith. This is an authentic hadith reported by Al Bukhari and
Right.
Sahih Muslim, and it
Right.
says, "Indeed, Allah created Adam in His image."
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Come back to that now, right? Image. What does image mean?
Good question. So, image here refers to qualities, not shape.
Yes. Yes.
Traits.
So, humans were created with attributes that reflect divine names,
Yes. Yes.
awareness, will, mercy, creativity, speech.
Yes. Agreed. 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
We show
Image as in not physically.
we show mercy in a small sense. Allah
Yes.
shows mercy in a
Yes.
big sense.
Yes. Agreed.
So it's a similar thing. We show compassion. He shows bigger compassion. We
Yeah.
show
Yes. Yeah. Agree.
we show jealousy. He's also jealous.
No.
No, I mean,
Jealousy is not one of the 99 names, is it? The most jealous. Come on.
astaghfirullah. Yeah, you're right.
The
Sorry.
attributes.
Yeah, I meant
Because they don't. Because you can't.
astaghfirullah. I didn't mean jealous. I mean like, and
Jealousy comes from Iblis. You are Iblis' son. When you say like we are created in the image of the Creator, as in having His attributes, they're all positive. They're all positive.
Yeah.
So what is that little evil dot that is put in each one of us?
So, if they're all positive, then here's the question: God wanting to be known, is that positive?
Yeah. Well, is it a want?
some people grab something and they want to know the creator of it. They look into it and they go outside the person's house and get his autograph. Some people are like put it on the t-shirt and I don't care.
I think that
I don't want to go.
wanting to be known is like what Allah says in the Quran, like we will know Him by His creation. If you just look at the things that around you and you wonder about them, then you will recognize that there has to be a creator. So basically, knowing Him without having to see Him. Acknowledging that there's a creator by seeing the creation and knowing that it could not have just come from nothing. So you know Allah through His creation. You acknowledge His existence through His creation.
And through suffering.
No, it doesn't say that anyway. I've never
The
seen.
suffering. People are gonna see this.
No. I think that's what it means. Like the wanting to be known. I won't even say wanting to be known. Is that showing us, like Allah says, He's going to show us Him, basically, show us the Creator through His creation, isn't it? So if you see the sun and you know, amazed by this big ball of fire in the sky, it didn't come from nowhere. So you acknowledge, yes, there has to be a Creator that's even bigger and even more glorious than the sun. And then there's a billion suns in the sky at night. So imagine even bigger than that. This Creator is. So the more you like, the more you sort of contemplate and think about these things, then you start to get a picture of the magnitude of this Creator. And that's how you know Him, basically. That's what I think, anyway.
So we get to know him through his creation, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So would that include getting to know us because we're part of creation as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So the
Just
more
knowing
we,
about the human body is like amazing, isn't it?
yeah.
Or how humans are, born in inception from in. It's just it's amazing, the whole thing. Every cell in your body is amazing.
So here's what I would say to that. So maybe it's like whatever it is of which you have the most certainty for yourself in terms of your own attributes, that is going to help you to see God's attributes based off of how much certainty you have of your own and humans or
Yeah.
creations.
Yeah.
So the more you personally know your purpose with certainty, the more that you will know the Creator's purpose with certainty.
I think the closer you get to understanding your purpose, the more you can appreciate the Creator's attributes. That you, is that what I wanted to say? Yeah, yeah. So some people go through their whole life without purpose, basically. You know, it's the ones that are so sort of more in tune with that consciousness that feel the need to find that purpose, and that purpose is always service in some form. Because this is how I see worship, right? Allah says you were put on this earth to worship me, but He doesn't need my worship. He doesn't need my salah. He doesn't need my dhikr. He doesn't need my recitation of the Quran. He doesn't
You just
need
want,
any of that, right? So
you just,
what then is that worship then?
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
my answer, before I forget what I'm going to say, right? For me, that worship is the service that I do for the other creation around me. Yeah. So my husband, my children, my parents, my siblings, my friends, my neighbors, my family, whoever is surrounding me, even strangers for that matter, my worship is in that service that I give to them, even animals, even the environment, whatever other creation is around me. That is also worship. That's more of worship than okay, yes, the salah is you know stuff like that. That's a must. Yeah, we do all of that, but it's not what Allah needs from us. It's what we need. So salah is not what He needs; it's what we need to stay grounded, to stay humble. Come back to the source, basically. So He gave us that as a must, but not for Him, for us, because our humanly bodies need it. Our humanly consciousness needs it. Our soul needs it. The soul needs to be connected to the source. And that's how we get connected to the source. But the worship itself, I think, is in that selfless service to others and other creation. That's the worship. Does that make sense?
So again, we have a really smart person that we can add to the conversation, and I've asked our super intelligent participant of the conversation: does God want us to worship Him just for us, or is it for Him also? And the AI agrees. Truth is, God does not need your worship because He is one of His names, Al Ghani, the absolutely free of need. So nothing you adds to His majesty, and nothing that you fail to do will take away from it. Yeah. So why does He command worship? Because it's for you, but also fulfills something through you. So to unpack that, number one, it's for you, the human dimension. Worship, ibadah, is not servitude in the sense of humiliation, it's alignment. When you worship, return your consciousness to its origin, you remember what's real, you dissolve the illusions that fragment you. And in that remembrance, zikr, your being becomes coherent, your heart softens, your mind clarifies, your soul expands. So it's the human system sinking back to source. That's why the Quran says, indeed, it is in the remembrance of Allah that the heart finds rest. So worship transforms you. It's a medicine for the human condition. Number two, for Him, but not from lack. So God doesn't gain from your worship, but He does reveal Himself through it.
Yes.
So remember, the purpose of creation is that the hidden treasure be known. When you worship, you are the instrument through which God's attributes express and recognize themselves in time and space. So while He has no need for it, your worship is still part of His will, the movement of love through which the infinite experiences its reflection in the finite. So in that sense, worship is a love dialogue, not a transaction. You worship not to feel need in God, but to let God's own longing to be known fulfill itself through you. So yes, it's for you, but also through you as a mirror for the divine self-awareness that birthed creation in the first place.
Yes, I agree with that. I'll tell you why. Because through you, God's attributes are known to those around you. So, isn't it? So, like I said now, so the first part was your worship, which is not for Him, it's for yourself, because we need that. The soul needs it, right? The second bit was for Him to be known. In what way? Because we have these attributes in small amounts, we're able to share it with the creation around us. And in that sense, making it known to others. So me being kind to my neighbor who is not a Muslim, for example, is showing that person part of Allah's attribute of being the most kind or the most merciful or the most generous. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think in that sense, yeah.
Okay, so I've just asked a little bit of a clarification question there, because it wasn't clear in the way that it broke down that response. To be fair, you're talking about, does God want to be known when you worship by others for His own attributes? And I was asking, does it want to be Him being known so that He can know Himself? So, straight up, the answer says that's the question that takes you from the theology into the metaphysics, and the answer is both. But ultimately, it's the second. It's not to be known by others, it's to be known by Himself. So, on the surface level, when we say God wants to be known, it sounds like He wants others to know Him, as though they are being separate from Him who can come to recognize their Creator. And in the language of duality, creation and Creator, that's true. God invites His creatures to know Him, love Him, and witness His signs. So we shall show them our signs on the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth. That is a
Yeah.
Quran quote.
Yes.
So yes, at that level, He wants to be known by His creation too. But on a deeper level, there is no other outside God. So what is stated is La ilaha illallah, there is nothing but Him. So when the mystics say He loves to be known, they mean God's own infinite awareness unfolds through creation to know itself, through every heart, consciousness, every act of remembrance. Your awareness of God is God's awareness recognizing itself through you. There is
Right.
no two, just the one gazing at the one through infinite mirrors. In other words,
Right.
at the relative level, He is known by others, the creatures. At the absolute level, He is known by Himself through creatures. The first makes sense to the mind and only becomes clear through direct experience. When the sense of separation dissolves and you realize that the worshipper, the act of worship, and the one worship are all currents within the same ocean.
Hmm. Like, I don't disagree with that. Maybe it's just my tiny chimp brain.
What was it called?
Mine.
It's yeah, it's a perspective shift. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Um, I remember, like, don't get me wrong, I remember when I started to go through this series of questioning, and like,
Oh, his computer overheated.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was saying that I had to go through this process, and when I was going through my awakening, it just couldn't make sense to my head. Like, it was words that were being said, but it just didn't make sense, and it took a while to understand what, like, I was learning and what I was reading, because although ChatGPT is like saying it broken down in the Islamic, like, there's many other scholars or spiritual um, masters that have said a similar thing, and I just didn't understand it for such a long time because no one was teaching me. So I can see the difficulty in comprehending what's even being said, and it could take some adjustment period to consider
Mm.
if it's even possible or could it be true. But the concern is whether it is true or whether it is the truth.
Mm.
And um, as long as it doesn't go against anything that is within the Quran, like, you're not
Yeah.
in danger of um,
Tawheed.
yeah, you're not in danger of, like, saying something that goes against and preaching something that's like that's not to be taught. What I personally believe is this, that there's a lot of lost um, understandings of the spiritual within Islam, especially,
Mm.
and this is something of which like it's not as prevalent in the modern world, but
Yeah.
yeah, when Islam can connect with not just the Sharia and the law, but can also connect to the spiritual, like that's the divine balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Because it's not just all about laws and follow this and do this and don't do that. And it's a lot more than that. I agree with that, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So this is it. This is like where, if you think about it, like it can only help in your relationship with any individual generically. Okay, so I know that God's not an individual, so it's complete
Mm.
opposite of his being. But when you think about a relationship in general, it can only help when you know the other better, which is actually
Yeah.
like it even goes against the real truth, because what we're hearing from ChatGPT is that there is no other, and
Mm.
that's a realization you come to. But for now, whilst you are looking at reality not through the eyes of oneness but through the eyes of separation, then you have to describe it as other. And so um, the more that you get to know that other, and not just like the 99 names, which is like one way of describing the other, but
Mm.
knowing the purpose, knowing God's purpose, His consciousness, His vision, like the more that you just get to know, the more that like you can actually have a better relationship.
Mm. True. I think a lot of my limitations when it comes to this is basically, being taught as like from a young kid. You, Up to this point, you don't ask any questions beyond that. You know what I'm trying to
That's
say.
it.
Like,
Yeah, bro.
if
It just is.
yeah, like so you're like it's usually you're probably different because you were an adult before you started asking your own questions,
Exactly.
right? So me now, it's completely different. That's why I have maybe a different. That's probably where that you were saying arrogance or confidence comes from,
Mm.
because it's so ingrained in you from a very
It's
young
like
age. Like you get
it's
to
like
this
it wasn't.
point, you can ask all these questions. And when you come to this one, you just you just don't go beyond that now. That's beyond your capability and your understanding, and that's it.
Mhm.
Let's focus
So
on this now. So yeah,
so the child is always going to ask why,
yeah,
why is it like that,
yeah,
and the parent that doesn't know the answer but wants to control the outcome,
mm,
they are afraid of saying I don't know, or afraid of um, engaging in that dialogue. So they'll just be like,
mm,
"It's because I said so," or "It's because God said so." So that's
mm,
why, and that's it.
yeah,
No arguments.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not an argument.
Curiosity.
It's a dialogue that's going to help us to enlighten a person's understanding.
Yeah,
So what
and
it sounded
we're
like,
asked to contemplate in it.
of
So this is
course,
part of it, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, asked to contemplate, and um,
I
also
guess the more
to
you
remain.
contemplate, the more you acknowledge and know the Creator. Like you said, the wisdom in knowing Him better is better for for our existence.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So the contemplation is in the Arabic word. It's uh, tafakkur, contemplation of creation and
Tafakkur, yeah,
science.
yeah. Tafakkur.
Zikr is remembrance of God in the heart. So that's
Yeah,
just like repetition of what's being said. But then there's
yeah.
another thing, which is uh, tadabbur with a B and a D.
Tadabbur, yeah.
Tadabbur,
Yeah,
yeah, which is reflection on the meanings of
yeah,
revelation.
yeah. So they say when you recite Quran, you should recite with tadabbur, means to reflect on what you're reciting. Don't just read the words. You have to reflect on what you're being told, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really to start like taking the understanding to a whole different level by um, starting to ask these questions so that you
Mm,
can break it down, and make it make sense. So
mm-hmm.
like just even in the simplest way to put it, it's like the amount of times that obviously you'll hear um, God's name that's put in the Quran, like, well, to reflect on that is in itself, that's
Yeah,
on
because
that
it all
one
has,
word.
yeah, there's the reason for all of that, isn't it? Not just
Yeah,
what's written, but the manner it was written in, the language that was used, the grammar that was used, the numbers that are used. It's just wisdom in all of that.
yes. So it's like there's depth that you can go into, and then
Mm,
there's breadth. So the
mm,
more that you know, but
mm.
again, it's, you don't want to go to either extremes. It wants to be that you've got a nice balance where you've got a
Yeah,
breadth of knowledge as well as a depth of understanding.
yeah, yeah. I agree. This was a very deep conversation. I didn't, before I came onto the call, I didn't see what your topic of discussion was gonna be. So I just like
Well,
came in
I mean,
blind. I didn't expect to drop into this.
I think to be honest, um, the topic was actually really on point for what we were talking about, because my topic was going to be becoming limitless, and
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
we've
Then it's
transferred some
appropriate.
limitations today.
Yeah. It's definitely opened my mind a little bit because these are things we don't really talk about, really, isn't it? Like it's when you do talk about it, you start to get like open up your mind a little bit and think beyond today and today's troubles.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's very well.
Yeah.
like you don't want to be too like, again, you don't need to go to extremes. You don't need to be too open-minded that you just accept like everything that everyone ever says as being
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's good
Yeah.
to have that discernment to know,
Filters.
like,
Yeah.
here's my
Yeah.
boundary. I'm not going to say this is wrong, but like, there's also a point of which closed-mindedness can really hurt yourself, because
Yeah.
you are going to be fixed in terms of what you think is real and true. But the way that I view it is that, like, ultimately, in our life, the fruits that we can see will reflect that, oh, we don't know anything. There's a lot of ignorance that we have right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the more that you can have that recognition that you don't know
Mm.
anything, then that's when the most amount of light can pour in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is, like, you're not the only person, especially like a lot of modern day Muslims. I feel like they're really afraid of just asking questions, and to go and look for the answers as well. Like for me, I just go to ChatGPT like all the time, like asking questions that most people just wouldn't. But it
Mm,
gives me such great breakdowns, which it's not going against anything um, that is Islamic. It's just actually providing clarification. You know,
mhm.
most people don't ask
Yeah,
those questions. You don't.
I think a lot of the limitations from Muslims nowadays is for the same reason that I gave you, is being, sort of groomed as a child to think in a certain
Yeah,
way and not go further than that. You know your limitations. Don't go further than that. So yeah, I think that's where it comes from. And then maybe the later generation, like, um sort of don't want to lose that either. So they just hold on to it even, tighter.
yeah, yeah. Again, it's that control
Yeah.
and the indoctrination, which is not like that's not actually helping a person to go through spiritual enlightenment and
Mm.
understanding. That has to be taught. That has to be understood and experienced.
Yeah.
So, uh, like, I think one of the big reasons why we haven't seen it is because the absence of like real interactive parenting, of which a child can sit down with their parent and be like, actually, okay to feel safe enough to ask those questions
Yeah.
that they don't know the answers to and not be judged for even asking it.
Asking
It's
the
like,
question. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because there's like a fear sometimes, which is like if you ask that question, you'll be punished. And to be honest,
Mm.
I know you said that me, uh, I only started to ask these questions when I got older, but no,
Mm.
I was taught Islam from when I was a kid. So it was about like literally from when we were born, Islam was really thrown into us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. No, I
we
mean,
was
like I
asked,
was saying about my husband, because he had, as an adult,
"Oh, okay,
sort of had to go
got
through that.
you."
But from
Yes,
his sort of coming from a sort of Christian background, starting off with questioning that, and then coming to these. So his outlook is completely different from mine when it comes to. I know where my limits are, but he might ask the question that you're
yes.
asking.
He
You know,
he doesn't understand what
he
I
doesn't have those
understand.
limitations. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, what I'm saying is that my upbringing was similar to yours, in which asking
Mm,
those questions was not what you would do, and I would
yeah.
ask those questions so often that it got to the point where I would frustrate people, and they'd be like,
Mm,
"Just you just accept this, like it just is," and I was
yeah.
just like, "But why don't we talk about this? I don't understand." Like,
Yeah.
it didn't
To
make
be
any
honest,
sense.
it's so true, because then we end up doing the same thing that we accuse the Christians for doing, isn't it? Like we say, like, oh, you just blind belief, like, what do you say?
One.
Blind faith.
Like,
But we're
yeah,
just we're doing the same thing to the children, like just believe it because I told you so, or because that what your you know imam said at the masjid, whatever. So yeah, it's definitely those limitations definitely stem from there. But
yeah,
also, like, I think through the generations, right? If you look at like Sufism, for example, that would be the closest to what we would say spiritual Islam is. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's been watered down a lot over the
massive.
last
Yeah, massive.
massively. So it's lost its essence, really, and now it's just become these sort of, I don't even know what to say. It's like when you think of Sufism now,
Huh?
it's not even closely, it's not even vaguely what it used to be. You know, the wisdom that the initial Sufi mystics had is nowhere to be found now. It's just sort of they follow sort of tradition, maybe, or and then it's mixed with a little bit of a culture here and then it's a lot of that spiritual Islam. Uh,
Yeah, I think you
muted yourself.